Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. We're bellied up to the bar today. A little bit of a unique situation. Most of you that are watching us, we are only on YouTube. I did run our Twitch, which is the first time we've ever done that, and I have no idea how this is showing up on Twitter. For those of you that normally watch us on Facebook, we'll figure that whole thing out. I have no idea what's going on. They banned us for a post that I've never seen. The comment said it was from over a post from over a year ago. So y'all might want to start scrubbing your stuff and figure out who's been on your Facebook. You know, grandma went and sent you a picture of her buns, and it was just buns that she made. Next thing you know, old Frogman is going to go ahead and cut you loose. But we have a very special guest right over the right shoulder. We'll get into sticking the cause for a minute, but we brought a legend today. We've had this same legend on before. He is I think I'll make it official now. He is the official bouncer for the Above the Bar podcast, you know, because I think he could be one of the largest humans we've had on the show. I didn't realize how large Calais Campbell was until this past weekend.
Yeah, that's a big man.
That's a lot of person.
Yeah.
He is a lot of person. But I figure we have former. We'll go through the whole list. I'm just gonna go through that. Are we still pushing 345 or less?
I'm 2X.
2X.
I don't know how much I weigh. I just know I wear 2X.
So we brought Bennie Anderson back, former Baltimore Raven offensive guard. Went to high school in St. Louis at Cleveland Junior Naval Academy. Tennessee State graduate, undrafted in 2000 to become one of the top 5 undrafted free agents in Baltimore Ravens history.
That's right.
Played for the Ravens between 01 and 04. Did a clip with Buffalo and a clip with the Dolphins. And now the offensive coach for, is it Westminster? What's the name of the school?
Yep, that's it. Westminster Christian Academy.
Westminster Christian Academy in St. Louis. He is the offensive line coach.
That's correct.
And last time we talked, you had just put the wood on somebody. It was like 46-0 last time we talked.
Right.
But he is bellied back up to the bar with us. We have Mr. Bennie Anderson. Bennie, welcome, brother.
That's right. How you doing, Sean?
Good. Here, we'll give you this. You know, got to do you in right.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And our conversation today, initial conversation, is definitely we're gonna talk about what that's like to. I mean, your whole life you had to be a man among boys. You know, just a big person playing at a level in high school that most weren't. You know, you're playing D1 ball, and even there you're excelling past the average player. To go from there to the NFL and then turn around, and I mean the NFL, you know, those are rooms full of millionaires.
Right.
To back to a grounded, passionate way of playing again. I don't want to take the passion out of the NFL, but we're going to talk about that today.
Mm-hmm.
We might get into a little. Bennie and I talked about this before, and we're going to talk a little John Gruden.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something you have to talk about today.
That's right.
It's necessary as a parent, not even as an athlete or as a fan. As a parent, we got to have that conversation.
We do.
But we're going to do a little bit of house cleaning, as we always do. First things first. If you guys liked everything you were seeing this week as our posts, as always, we got our number one sponsor, the first sponsor to the show, You like all your pictures, Beanie, we put up? Like I share with you?
Man, you know what? I haven't seen them all. I've seen some, but the ones I like, the ones that I haven't seen, man, I'm impressed.
That is Media by Dibs, another Marine that buddy of mine. He's got his own company, Media by Dibs. Maybe he does jerseys. He does Unicorn Sports. Like he does all their website stuff too.
So yeah, I got my sons who are. I got one son that's a sophomore playing ball in college. One that's a senior who's committed to play ball in college. So yeah, I'm sure we can find, Dibble can do some things with those guys or for those guys.
So that's well, and now that's a whole nother market. It wasn't like that. You said when you were coming out. Now you got to have like special websites and all that kind of stuff to promote these kids.
That's
But
right.
Media by Dibs, if you like it to have your information, you're looking for a logo, really looking for anything, media wise, Media by Dibs, you go ahead and check him out. And what he's going to do for you is you tell him belly up to the bar. They're going to give you 10% off of your first order with him. And he's going to give you a free consultation. Again, just say go to Media by Dibs and say belly up to the bar and get that 10% off. The other things, we got the big bird back here. I'm going to start calling him the heart attack kids. Like, bro, this whole first season is killing me softly.
Yeah.
Killing me softly. But we've got our sticker and a cause. If you got a cause, you got a thing, something that you're passionate about, maybe somebody will send me a Westminster Christian Academy sticker. We'll put that up on the board.
All right.
But whatever you got, you send me that sticker. We'll talk about it. We'll let everybody know what you got going on. We'll let everybody know what you got happening so that they can have an opportunity to see what that's about and see what you got going on.
All right.
There's the house cleaning is done. We can't share this to anyone like I normally do because Facebook has banned me from live videos and from any type of advertising for a picture from over a year ago that I had never seen in my life, but it was funny. Well, they ain't watching. So look, I'll tell you what it was, Beanie.
Mm-hmm.
It was the elf on the shelf, but it looked like he was being hung like Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh my goodness.
With a claymation version of Hillary Clinton walking past. It's funny.
It is funny, but we got to be careful about what we laugh about now, man.
Right. Look, they don't be funny.
Yeah.
Don't
be funny.
Don't be. We did a whole show a couple of weeks ago on dark humor.
I remember that show. I did checked it out.
And I was scared. Like as a host, I always said I had to put my Oprah hat on for that one. Because only Oprah can talk about some like real sketchy stuff, and everybody's like, "She's got this."
Well, I know we're not talking about that today, but can we explore that whole dynamic as to who can say what and who has license to say certain things at certain times?
Well, we know John Gruden ain't got no license.
Well,
we want to get into that with all of it. Let's do it.
Let's go ahead, man. Well, let me go on the record to saying this. I know some guys who played for Gruden and nobody liked them. And these weren't black players or white players. These were just both. These were just players. So with that being said, the things that's coming out about him, as at his character, no one ever saw that coming. You can not like a guy, but to have those things come out is different. But then on the flip side of it, I mean, was it that bad what he said?
I would say yes. I would say yes.
Yeah. So the great philosopher says, he talks about the Zeitgeist. It means the spirit of the age. So the spirit of the age whenever he sent those emails is quite different than the spirit of the age now.
Okay.
So when he made those comments, and I'm not excusing him at all, I think it's bad. But you got to take into consideration the spirit of the age. This is before the Me Too movement. This is before, we really started to see the acceptance of the LGBT community, and to be quite honest with you, some of the words that he used were acceptable at that time that are not acceptable now. So, I mean, it's a lot that goes into
it. So I completely understand. Like when we did the dark comedy, we talked about one of my favorite movies of all times is Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
You can't make that movie.
You cannot make that movie.
You can't make History of the World. You really can't make any Mel Brooks films anymore.
Exactly.
He would be just crucified for it.
Yeah.
And you really couldn't make most of your Monty Python stuff anymore either.
No.
Yeah. But I understand what you're saying. But I think so Booger McFarland, who has the worst nickname in all sports, the worst. But I think I was listening, and I think it was Booger that said it best. He's like, and he said, like you did, hey, I don't excuse anything that John said, but let's ask the other question. Who were all the people that saw these emails? Who were all the people involved in these conversations that never stopped it? That never said anything as soon as it happened and shared the messages, kept the emails, and just were involved in the conversation? Where are they at?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I'm sure he sent the email and somebody responded in some sort of fashion.
Right. Somebody sent an LOL or a thumbs up or something. I don't think it went to a dead space.
Yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily an indictment, but that is where we were at then. And I don't know who sent the email. I don't know John Gruden personally, but I'm not sure if he is the same person who in 2021 who sent those emails whenever they were sent. And so, like I said, the people who I know don't like Coach Gruden. I never met him. I don't like his personality per se, but I don't know him to say whether or not he's a good guy or a bad guy. But I will say, if you were to judge me on some things that I said out of ignorance that I am now more aware of, then I don't know how fair that would be.
Fair enough. I mean, can't we really kind of say that John Gruden is almost the Bobby Knight of the NFL?
Well, I don't know if he has that type of credibility. So when Bob Knight comes into your room, your house. Now, Sean, you're a Marine Corps veteran, served our country proudly.
Yes, sir.
If Bobby Knight walks in, you would stand up and say, "Hello, Coach Knight."
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because he's going to throw one of my bar stools at me.
if John Gruden walked in the room, you'll say, "Hey, Chucky."
Yeah. No. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
It's just it's a different sort of respect that's commanded.
Yeah. So, no, I will agree with that.
So I wouldn't necessarily put Coach Gruden on that level. I may put a Coach Parcells or a Belichick on that level, but not Coach Gruden.
Not Gruden. See, and I was thinking of it from the demanding standpoint. He always seemed like a demanding coach to me, like a very you will give this to me, you will do this, not almost like his respect wasn't earned, it was demanded.
Well, yes. Well, maybe conned or bullied would be a better term.
Bullied. I like that term.
But I don't, guys respect coaches based off coaches putting them in a position to be the most successful. And I've never heard anyone say that about Coach Gruden.
He put a ring on it, though.
He did put a ring on it. And let's be fair. He was the coach that got them over the hump, but he was really just the mayo on the sandwich. I mean, the sandwich was already made. They just had squirted a little mayo on it. I'm sorry.
So I understand exactly what you're saying, though, is, what he's saying isn't right, isn't correct, isn't acceptable, none of the above. But in the time frame of when it happened, was it more acceptable? I guess I don't even want to say more acceptable, but was it turned a blind eye to more then?
Well, I don't know if it was necessarily turned a blind eye. That is just the way that the world was.
Yeah.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, people use the F word, and I'm not saying the Fuck word. You know what word
Oh
I'm
yeah, no,
saying.
look, I know what you're talking about.
I
Yeah, no.
mean, I can recall. So my son is now in the 12th grade, so this was 6th grade. And this is when I understood that I had to raise my kids to be in a different world. So it was a kid in his class who said something, and my son responded, "Man, that's gay." Okay. So my son gets called into the office for using that, that's offensive. So up to that point, he in the 6th grade, though that wasn't a word that I taught him to not use. So now, so that's 6 years ago. So that's what, 2015.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
that's when I started to understand that, hey, man, you don't use certain words because it is offensive. So, I'm much different now. I raise my kids much different now because I know better. So I'm not necessarily sure that when those emails about that thing, not the topless women and all the other stuff,
Right.
but about that, did they actually see it as anything wrong? Because it's different if you know it's wrong and you go out and do it. But if it's something that's been acceptable for 30, 40, 100 years and you just carrying it on, I mean, it's a little bit different.
I understand what you're saying, but and that was a different, the NFL was, and it still is, that is the pinnacle, that is American Gladiator, the true American Gladiator
Yeah.
sport. Until you strap on some lacrosse gear, and then that's a whole nother animal.
Right.
That changes your outlook on things.
Yeah.
But it really is. That's what's the saying? It's a 30-mile-an-hour car crash every 45 seconds.
Yeah, that's right.
And so you have a machismo side to it, and that's almost where it is. It's not acceptable today, and I've seen it. It's interesting to me is I've seen it personally in the corporate world, the worlds that
Mm-hmm.
I work out of,
Mm-hmm.
where people have, even back in 2014, I watched a young lady, somebody reach back in her Facebook years prior, like high school, 5, 6 years prior to 2014, and found a comment that she made that was definitely not meant in a derogatory manner,
Mm-hmm.
um, using a term, and she was talking about the UN. No, she's a Tar Heel fan, so she was talking about the Tar Heels, and she goes, "That's my ends," and used
Mm-hmm.
that term and meant it in an endearing way. Somebody found it. She lost her job.
Yeah.
And
That's, I mean, man,
look, I
it's,
got banned today for the Jeffrey Epstein thing that I did nothing about.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's a fine line. Well, I don't know, even if it's a fine line, it's a line that keeps moving as
Yes.
far as what's considered free speech, uh, and what's considered things that should not be talked about publicly, because it's still being talked about. Those innuendos are still being made. It's just now closed doors. And now, unfortunately, things that are said behind closed doors are now being opened. Um, and who knows where this will lead to.
And you know what? I want to use that term to kind of transition
Mm-hmm.
to you being in the NFL,
Mm-hmm.
going from so you grew up in St. Louis,
Yep. I grew up right in the heart of the city.
which watched an amazing documentary about your city a couple of years ago, about how many public schools have closed in that city
Mm-hmm.
over the years because of you guys have something there where if a parent chooses to not send their kid to public school, you can have that money the school money sent to a private school for a
Well,
private education.
well, we haven't got to the point where it was private education yet, where you consider that a private school. But from the late 70s, and I think they're going to cut it off next year, we had what's known as the DSEG program. So what it was is where Black students that lived in the St. Louis city could be bused to the suburban schools, right? And then the suburban white kids could be, transported and enrolled in the St. Louis public schools. So on paper, hey, that looks great. But in theory, in actuality, rather, you have thousands of Black kids who went out to the county and hundreds of white kids coming into the city.
Math don't work.
Math don't work. So what happened is this: now St. Louis County in the suburban school districts, man, you got big, beautiful school buildings, wonderful athletic facilities, and this is built on the money that the Black kids brought with them, and along with them coming out to the suburban schools, a lot of things took place and a lot of things happened to those young people that kind of scarred them. Some of them really flourished in that environment, but a lot of those kids were scarred. Education. So I'll give you an example. So we lived, when we moved back to St. Louis, we lived in a pretty affluent area, right? And so some of and of course my kids are Black mother, Black father. So yeah, man, this surprising, right? But so my kids Black, they go to the neighborhood school, right? So you got other Black kids who live in the neighborhood who go, not a lot, it's not a lot of us, but then you had some Black kids being bused in from the city. And so my kids would catch a lot of harsh treatment from teachers and parents. Give you an example. My son wasn't feeling well. He went to the nurse. Nurse says, "Hey, you can just lay here. I know your parents live almost an hour away, and your mom probably can't get off work, so just lay here." My son said, "Man, we live 2 minutes away. My mom doesn't work." Those type of stereotypes. They had some sort of program where all the kids can earn McDonald's, right? The city kids, the kids were being bused. Their bus ride about 45 minutes away.
Okay.
So the school says, "Hey, we'll allow a bus to take you to McDonald's so that you can have food to eat before you get home for the bus ride. No harm, no foul, right?"
Right.
Parents had a fit. Why do these kids get special treatment? So, that's the world. Now, these are affluent parents. These kids aren't threatening their way of life by no means. So it's different things that went on in the city of St. Louis. St. Louis is a lot like Baltimore, where the St. Louis city is not a part of St. Louis County, the same way Baltimore City is not a part of Baltimore County. So St. Louis City is a small place, right around 300,000 residents. And if you drew a line right down Delmore Boulevard, which is called the Delmore Divide, to the north of Delmore is Black, to the south is white.
Just like that.
Just like that. This 2021.
See, Baltimore's like that too, though. I always try to explain that to people. Like Baltimore, and I've only driven through St. Louis, so I can't speak to it. But I always try to explain to people, Baltimore is the only city that I've ever been into that is the smallest big city in the world.
Yeah.
If you're me, I grew up in Dundalk.
Yeah.
With other white, Irish, Italian, and Polish kids.
Dundalker.
I'm a Dundalkian
Yeah.
all day. Yeah. Turner Station, which was right down the road, that was Black.
Yeah.
That's who lived in Turner Station. Greektown, which was the other way, was all Greek.
Yeah.
Germantown, Pikesville was all Jewish.
Yeah.
You were Jewish and it's still that way today.
It is.
So St. Louis sounds like it's the same way.
St. Louis is more extreme.
So you said this line, the Delaware Divide.
Delmore Divide.
Or Delmar Divide. That's it.
That's it. Like when I say, Now, some parts of on the southern part, on the south of Delmar, is integrated, but north of Delmar is, I would say, 99.9% black.
Like one dude, one white dude, just
man, one white dude who likes black girls, or one white girl who likes black guys.
I know, I might be. That might be my people. Don't get it twisted. That might be my people.
It might be you, huh, Sean? I know where to find you when you come to St. Louis, huh?
Look, I ain't never turned out nothing but my collar. We be all right.
I hear you.
That was in my younger days. My wife's gonna come down the steps here in a minute and club me like a baby seal. Can I say that? Can I say? I don't even know if I can say that.
I don't know that.
So here you are. You're a year younger than me. I'm 76. You're 77.
77.
So we're talking coming into the NFL 2000. Walk me through, because I think we've talked about this. I have a cousin that plays for the Bills.
Yeah.
And I remember him telling me, and really it was his dad telling me what the experience going to college to be recruited. What was it like being recruited to Tennessee State? How did they approach you?
Man, if I told you this story, you wouldn't believe me.
Make me a non-believer.
So, this is my senior year in high school. Now, mind you, I didn't start playing football until my junior year in high school.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I thought I was a baseball player.
No shit.
Even today, baseball is my favorite sport. So anyways, the curveball didn't work out for me. Okay. So I knew I needed
the statue.
Right. So I had 4 things I wanted to do with my life. Okay. So I wanted to go in the military. I wanted to be a rapper. So I went to Cleveland Junior Naval Academy, which it's a public high school with the ROTC program that's every day.
Nice.
All right. So I said, okay. But then I grew and I wouldn't be able to make the military weight requirements. So that was out the door. So one of the guys said, hey man, you got the size, you should play football. You can get a scholarship. So went out for football. I literally did not know what a guard, tackle. Well, I knew what the center was, but I didn't know the difference between a guard and a tackle. So I started playing my junior year, had fun, came back my senior year. My college coach, my high school coaches, man, they really poured into me. And so, that really made all the difference. So my senior year comes, I knew a guy from middle school who went to a rival high school. And we played him, and I beat him up pretty good. And he said, yeah, man, I'm going on a recruiting trip to this school. I said, what? How's this dude getting recruited and I'm not? So I called my high school coach, right? So I live right in the heart of the city, downtown St. Louis City. My high school football coach lived in the suburbs, about 40 minutes away. I said, Coach, man, this dude getting recruited and I'm not. And Coach said, stay where you at. I'm coming to get you. So he drives 45 minutes to pick me up, 45 minutes back to his house. And there was a recruiter from Tennessee State University. He was sitting at a guy who they were recruiting out of St. Louis's living room. And Coach says, hey, I want you to meet Bennie Anderson. Coach said, hey, how you doing? I said, great, Coach. So my coach put in my film. And he played the first 3 plays. And the coach said, cut it off. I seen enough. I'm gonna offer you a scholarship right on the spot. And I'm glad he did, because the next 2 plays I got worked. So that worked out well. So that's how I got recruited to Tennessee State. And that was really my only offer coming out of high school.
So it really was just almost dumb luck that you were pissed that you beat this other guy's team.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden, boop.
Well, I wouldn't even call it dumb luck. I would call it a coach caring and pouring into his player.
That's amazing.
It is. And the guy who recruited me at Tennessee State, he's now the chaplain for the Tennessee Titans.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So, man, and it really developed a lifelong relationship that really shaped me, who I am as a man and as a coach. That one high school coach pouring into me, just the result.
Dude, that's here you are, and I'm thinking about that in what you're doing right now, coaching these kids. You see how important that positive male interaction with other young men,
Mm-hmm.
really can change their lives. No matter, and it's not just football, people. It's
Right.
life. It's
It's life.
don't look at a kid and say that you're not making an impact. I have 100 stories, nothing like that, but I have stories where other male role models made a positive impact. So now here we are.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go from St. Louis,
Yeah.
inner city St. Louis,
In the city.
to Tennessee.
Yep. And
Now,
it's not that far. It's only about a 4.5 hour car ride.
look, my mother's family is in Elizabethton, Tennessee, by Johnson City,
Oh, East
like
Tennessee.
East Tennessee, by
Yeah.
East Tennessee State.
Yeah.
Uh, they're all out that way. I think that's actually where my cousin went to, was East Tennessee. So here you are in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
I I don't know how country Missouri is, especially, but St. Louis, it's a city. It's an inner city.
It's a
Uh,
city. Yeah.
you know,
So
what was that experience like, getting there? And really, now you're also, correct me if I'm wrong, this isn't an HBC.
it is.
Oh, Tennessee State is an HBC?
Yeah. HBCU.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know Tennessee State was an HBC.
Yeah. It is. So get this right. So, man, my mother put me on the bus, right?
To go to college.
The Greyhound bus sent me to college. Hey, with one bag. Hey, don't come back. Degree. So I get to college. I get to campus, right? And I'm the first one in the dorms. So I see the kids moving in, and I'm seeing a mother and a father moving their kids in. So these black kids, and I grew up in a black neighborhood, went to a pretty mixed high school, but man, it was one kid in my neighborhood who had a father in the house, and he was a dope man. So, so this is even though I'm a black man, a black male,
Yeah.
in a in pretty much all black environment, it's a culture shock to me because I'm not used to seeing these. I'm not used to seeing black men and black women working together to raise kids. I'm not used to seeing kids who are coming from stable environments. So even though it's a black college, it was a culture shock to me. Even though I'm used to living around black people, I'm not used to that type of environment. So it was kind of a culture shock, not because Nashville was was a southern city,
Right.
just being around different types of black people.
Now, kind of staying with our theme here, did you ever feel, because of where you came from, inner city, mom was the only person in the household, didn't really see that, were you ever looked upon differently, like, oh, he's just here because he's an athlete, he's from that environment, not treated equally in that community? And for those of you, I didn't even think anything of it. HBC stands for Historical Black College, if you don't know what that means.
Right.
I just
HBCU, historically black colleges and universities. Yeah. But no, I wasn't treated, and that was the great part was, I was a member of the football team, and we were the like I said, different time. We were the biggest gang frat entity. Right? So I was insulated. I was protected. So even though I may have only had two pair of pants and a couple shirts, I was cool because I played ball. Now, if someone else was in that situation, they might not have been as cool.
That's interesting to me, because I never would have thought about it, because I have a lot of friends that went to HBCs, and they were the kids you were talking about. They
Mm-hmm.
were both mom and dad at home. I think of my buddy Julian. Dad was a prior service Army. I think he was a sergeant major or master sergeant in the Army. I have another real close friend. Both his parents. He was first generation being able to go to college. So I never considered it in the way you said it. So we get there. You're now everybody's beanie size.
Man,
There's some beanie babies out there, but
Man, when I when I got to camp, so here you go. So when I finished my senior year of high school, I was around 290. Right, I was pretty in good shape. Right, so that summer I had a job at Burger King, and I was the closing shift. Man, I made so many different types of Whoppers and shakes. Man, I got to camp. Man, I was 332 pounds of grease.
Oh.
And I knew I had messed up because when they picked me up from the bus station, they was like, "Is this the same guy?"
Oh shit.
So man, so I get in the weight. So you get to college, they weigh you and all that. So then they want to see how strong you are. And man, I didn't lift weights. So a guy, we were freshmen, and his name is Larry Floyd. Larry Floyd, whatever you put on the board, he could just lift it. So Floyd was about 180, 190. And he gets under 225, does it a couple times, puts more weight on there. I think Floyd might have got up to 295, did it a couple times.
God.
So I let mind you now, I'm almost twice his size. I'm 330. So I said, man, just put 225 on there. And I'm like, man, I can do that. Man, they put that 225 on me, man, I almost got killed. I couldn't get it off me. So so now I'm out of shape. They've only seen, a couple plays of film on me. And so now it was 5 other offensive linemen that came in that year. So that year, I didn't make the travel squad or anything, man. I was red shirted. I was like the last man on the totem pole.
Oh, could have lost your spot. Period.
Yeah, I mean, if college football, if we had the type of coaches who would take your scholarship like they do now, I definitely would have been home.
Wow. So what was it the 225 struggling? Was that the kick in the pants that you went like, oh no? What turned the corner there at that moment where you were like, yeah, I gotta fix this?
Well, one thing, even though I was greasy, I always had good wind. So
Okay.
we did a lot of running. And I was like, well, even though I'm fat, I can still run a little bit. Not fast, but I can run,
But I'll get there.
Yeah. So, man, then we had a senior offensive lineman. We had 3 of them. Royce McGowan, Dan Pride, and was DC, Dorian Clark. And man, it's like, man, you got something about you, man. We're gonna really pour into you. We're gonna look out for you. We're gonna show you the ropes. And so them older guys embracing me, man, and giving me the blueprint on how to become 1, a college student, and then 2, a student athlete, and then 3, a good football player. So, them guys pouring into me along with, the coaching staff really got me on the right track.
That's so now by the time you're no longer a red shirt. And if you're listening to this and you're like, what the hell's a red shirt freshman?
Right.
Just basically means you have 1 extra year of eligibility. You don't get to travel with the team. You don't get to there's a lot of like you don't get but you don't lose your eligibility also.
Right. So then, man, that off season, that summer, and I dedicated myself to becoming, a student athlete and a football player. So, man, I stayed in Nashville that summer. So, it's a small school, so it's not like a University of Maryland or University of Missouri where they can afford to pay for the students, the athletes to stay on campus and to be in summer school and all that. So, man, I actually got a job. Well, all of us got a job rolling beer that summer. And what that means is, you work for the local distributor and you deliver beer. So, man, I took that money, man, and paid for me to stay on campus. And, man, I just got after it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we're rolling along here. You're at this point, you've really only been playing football 7 years because you're a red shirt. So 7 years of football.
No, 3 years.
Oh yeah, at that point you're at 3 years. I'm thinking, well, at what point in this equation does the NFL come into your actual purview and you're like, I can do that. I've got that in my. I can go do that. Where
Man,
did that?
man. So I ended up, starting for 4 years, right? Made some, all conference, all American, all those honors. And so every year, like I said, I wanted to be a school teacher. So I did my certification, did the student teaching and all those things. And so I guess around February, the different school districts around the country came to recruit the college soon to be graduates. So I interviewed with some school districts and I actually accepted the position in the Fort Worth ISD, Independent School District. So I was all set to go to Texas and start my teaching career. And then my offensive line coach, he was like, "Hey man, you might get a chance." I'm like, "What you mean?" He said, "Baltimore really likes you." I said, "For real?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, all right. I'm not going to drop."
Trust in Ozzie, we trust.
But it was Ozzie. Ozzie had a daughter who played basketball at Tennessee State at that time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we didn't know that was her dad. And then we had so then they had Mr. John Wooten and James Shaq Harris. I met Shaq at a Black College All-American banquet. And he was asking me a lot of questions, like an interview. I was like, "Yes, sir, no, sir." I didn't really think it would go anywhere. So, man, fast forward to come the draft. The draft is coming. And this is when it gets crazy. This is why NFL teams sucks, right? So then, back then, the draft was on Saturday and Sunday. Mm-hmm. 3 rounds on Saturday, 4 rounds on Sunday. So, man, I'm getting phone calls. I don't have a cell phone, so they're actually calling my dorm room, and they're calling my mother in St. Louis. The Cowboys called, Carolina called, Tampa Bay called, and they was like, "Yeah, we want to know what's the phone number to reach you on draft day." So, man, I'm thinking I'm finna get drafted. And so all these teams, they call it. Then the draft come, first round, knew that wouldn't happen. The second round, knew that wouldn't happen. Third round, no. Fourth round, no. Fifth round, no. Sixth round, no. Seventh round, no. So I'm like, okay, I didn't get drafted, but I'll get a call as an undrafted free agent. Didn't happen. So about a week after the draft, after all the teams have their rookie mini camps, the Rams called me, right? The Rams called me and said, "Hey, man, we want to bring you in for a workout. Are you interested?" Yeah, heck yeah. So this was the Rams after they win the Super Bowl. So I fly to St. Louis. I'm still in school. They worked me out. They signed me, to a 1-year contract. So now I'm under the tutelage of the great Jim Hannafin and then Coach John Masco. I think Masco was at the Ravens for a while as well. But Coach Hannafin taught the technique. Coach Masco taught the the plays, whatever. Man, so we get shorts and T-shirts, and I can block you, and I can learn the plays, but I'm not going to look good in T-shirts and shorts. Right? That's just not my thing. So, anyways, mini camp comes, whatever. So we break for training camp. And man, 3 days before training camp, I get a call from the Rams, and I got released. So I didn't make it to training camp. So remember, I accepted a job in Texas, but by now the school year has, so I started working, man. I went to work. Working with mentally retarded and developmentally disabled adults, and working with young kids in the after-school program.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so, I was like, well, I'm content. I'm going to live my life. And so then I get a call from an agent. And he said, "Hey, man, send your film to this guy because they're going to start the XFL."
Did you play in the XFL?
In the original. I'm an OG.
Bro.
What happened?
What just happened? Did I lose you? Did you lose me?
I lost you.
Benny, I lost sound. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yep, I heard you. So I didn't know you. So I saw Chicago Enforcers on your thing. So you were, oh God. Did you ever meet Trump?
No, man, no, that wasn't Trump. That was McMahon.
Oh, no, that was McMahon. That was McMahon, not Trump. But I thought Trump was involved in the XFL.
No, that was him. That was all McMahon and Ebersol.
Why did I think that Trump was involved in that? Because that's why he hates the NFL.
No, he was USFL.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I get drafted, man. I send my film. I get drafted by the XFL by Chicago. And Ron Myers was our head coach, the old Patriots coach, Ron Myers.
Yep.
And the old SMU coach who got them guys in trouble. But anyways, so man, I get drafted by Chicago. Make the team, play well. Had probably the most fun in my life. If you can imagine, a 22-year-old young man with no responsibilities, who's making I think I made like $63,000 in like 12 weeks. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's good money today.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I'm having a great time. I'm living in a hotel. It's not a great hotel, at a Ramada Inn on Lakeshore Drive in Chicago. So man, I'm having a great time, man. And the season ends, and I'm like, yeah, I can't wait till next year. Then so some guys from the XFL started getting signed, to the NFL. And I was content, man. I was like, well, you know what? XFL doesn't start till January. Man, I can work as a substitute teacher and start that career, and then play XFL the second half of the year. So I get a call, and it's the Ravens, right? And they say they want to bring me in for a workout. So they fly me up to Baltimore. It's steaming hot. And this is at the old facility. So we're outside on the turf. Turf, it's got to be like 120 degrees.
Before the castle.
Right. And so the old line coach, Jim Coletto, is supposed to work me out. And man, you do 2 or 3 drills. All right, good enough. And so they signed me. And so this is the last day of minicamp. And so I come in there. Now you got to think now. I'm not a draft pick. I'm not to say I'm a nobody, but I'm really a camp body. So I'm there for the last day of minicamp, right? I'm taking my physical as the team is taking their exit physicals. So while I'm at the facility, the offensive coordinator, Coach Kavanaugh, he says, "Hey man, we're so blessed to have you and fortunate to have you as a Raven." I said, "Wow, man, I belong here." And here's the kicker: the reigning Super Bowl MVP of the world champion Baltimore Ravens walks over to where I'm sitting. "Hey man, Ray Lewis, man, glad to have you a part of the team. Can't wait to work with you." Man, then what does that do to a young man's confidence?
Dude, you were,
man,
bro.
And so
right.
we break. Minicamp is over, so we about a 6-week period before training camp. And so Coach Billick and offensive line coach Coletto, they decided to bring me and Damian Cook in a week before camp to work with us. So you got to think now, the offensive coordinator, the Super Bowl MVP, welcomes me to the team. They decided we are worthy enough that they bring us in a week before camp just to work individually with us. Now, they could have been working with us to see whether or not they're going to cut us. We didn't know.
Right.
But my confidence level is through the roof. So when training camp starts, I'm feeling like, hey, I'm supposed to be here. These people want us here. So when training camp came, man, I just felt real comfortable. Man, I was able to dominate during training camp. Sam Adams, if you remember Sam Adams?
Oh, yeah.
And Sam Adams told Rex Ryan, "Hey, I only want to go against him."
That's a big boy, Sam Adams.
Yes. And
Sam Adams and Tony Saragusa on that line used to just be 2 abusive human beings.
Man, but yeah. I mean, you got to think that there were just 2 of them. Then
you had Peter Ballware, Mark
second
McCrary.
Team was Lionel Dalton, Mike McCrary. Hey, man, it's like, no, you couldn't get a break.
Mm-mm.
So anyway, man, so I end up making a team, and I'm content. Like, well, not content, but I'm happy to be there.
Right.
And so first game comes along. We're playing the Chicago Bears at home. So I get it. So at this point, my fiance, well, I don't know if she's fiance, whatever. I got a baby on the way, right? And so I get the phone call the day before the first game. I'm going into labor. So I go find Coach Billick. Say, Coach, man, she going into labor. He said, hey, if you gotta go, you gotta go. But we really need you here. So you know what choice I made, right?
Look, Brian has just told you we really need you here in that voice.
Exactly.
Look, I understand completely, but we can really use you here.
Hey man, and so I end up staying, and this is the type of organization. Well, there's two things I learned that day. One, that the NFL is for real, and two, that the Ravens are first class. So the game is over, right? I think I played like on PAT, field goal. We win, right? So Coach Billick brings the team up. He has a ball in his hand. I want to give this ball to Bennie Anderson. You know, he just had a baby. I really try to force him to go home, but he really wanted to be here. So I said, Billick is a slick dude.
Oh yeah.
So man, they rushed me to the airport. I'm on a bus with the referees. And so this when I realized, so wait a minute. If the game was over at 3, I was on the bus at 3:30 with the referees.
Wow.
And so what I realized, I never even seen these dudes leave the field. The referees have such tight security. They have a police escort to the airport, through the airport onto the plane. So, oh man, and that's when it dawned on me, man, this is for real. There's a lot of things are at stake with these games.
A lot of moving parts.
A lot of moving parts that you would never see. So, anyways, man, so this is 9901. So,
Wow.
So you leave a hospital after 2 days. 2 days later is 9/11.
Yeah, 9/11.
So God bless that day, and all the people who are affected, all of us are affected, but the ones directly affected. And man, so I couldn't go back to Baltimore because you couldn't catch a plane, any of that. Couldn't get there. So in order to get there, guess what the Ravens did, man?
Sent a car.
Sent a limo.
Baller.
Man, I was a baller, but I almost had to drive the limo because the limo driver was falling asleep. So I'm like, hey, man, do you need me to drive and you can get in the back and sleep?
No, I'm good, dog. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah, man, that was my Baltimore, getting the Baltimore story. Man.
So you play 01 through 04 in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
Pure curiosity, just because I want to know. Anyone, and look, I know ain't no grown man gonna say I didn't want to face this person or that person, but some of the best stuff to ever come out of that era is things like Eddie George saying that getting hit by Ray Lewis was like getting a baseball bat across the chest, or when Ocho Cinco thought he was going to blindside Ray, and Ray tattooed him, and that man came off the field going, I tried to hit Ray. He hit me back. Was there ever somebody as an offensive lineman that you took extra reps during those days to prepare for, either a swim move or, the way they could talk, anything like that you knew like, hey, this guy's going to come different than the average?
Man, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great defensive players now, but I think I may have played in one of the best eras for defensive players, especially in the old AFC North. Well, were we the North then? Where were the AFC we were?
Still the North, because we still played Tennessee twice, because it was still a 5-team division.
Yeah. And so Tennessee had like 7 or 8 guys who all looked the same. And so you knew with Tennessee, because, some teams back then, you either had a big run stuffer in the middle, right? Or you had a quicker guy. So you can kind of, do your practice based on what you were going to face. Tennessee had guys who were who were not necessarily overpoweringly strong, and not necessarily over quick, but they were a good combination of both. And they had a whole lot of them.
Well rounded.
Yeah. So those guys were always tough. They had a guy in Pittsburgh, Chemo von Olenhoff.
Okay.
He had we called it the Chemo Club. And he'd catch you leaning one way, then he'll just club you upside your head, you go flying. So, you know, so that was something.
Did you play against the Keo Spikes?
Yeah, man, I just beat up on Spikes, man. So when he was with Cincy, man, we used to just run the ball down their throat, and he's middle linebacker.
Oh yeah.
And then for my last year in Baltimore, he's in Buffalo, and he's playing in the middle, and we get to running the ball well on them. Just like Cincinnati, well, you ain't gonna do me like that no more. And so yeah, man, let's beat up on Spikes.
See, you played on an era. I love my Ravens, and we were talking about this beforehand. And again, folks, check Bennie out. Love him to death. This is old school, in my opinion, a golden age of the NFL.
It was, man.
We were talking about this earlier. The Ravens today, we've never seen a Ravens like this. And I want to get into your retirement, but I want to talk a little bit here about the Ravens of today. They've played 5 games. They're 4-1. And I don't think out of any one of those games, it wasn't the last minute of the game, minute and a half, before we knew we won.
I think the Ravens are 4-1, and you are what your records say you are. But I think when I watch the team play, it's still, to me, a team that's looking for an identity. So you come into the season with thinking that you are a run team. You run the ball, control the clock, play great defense. Well, you have injuries, so that's not the case with the run game, right? You got injuries in the secondary, so you kind of you're not whole as a defense. You don't really have elite pass rushers, so you're kind of vulnerable. So now, you're in a position where now you're going to have to outscore people. And so now I think, it's a transitioning period. And I think with that being said, I think the coaching staff is in place to have a successful transition that's going to look more like other elite NFL teams where it's throw the ball first.
Throw. Well, I mean, I'm looking at this team, and I think we joked about this when you were on the show last time we were doing our preseason show.
Mm-hmm.
I think Baltimore, to me, looks exactly like Kansas City, but Kansas City is the girl that you bring to dinner with your mother and your grandmother there.
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore is the girl that you tell your father about after everybody breaks.
That's right. Absolutely.
Because it's just dirty.
Yeah.
I mean, it's whatever it takes to get there. And you had to have had, that was an interesting time. You're coming out of the 2000 season, the greatest defense ever to be put on a field. We talked about some of the players that were on that defense.
Mm-hmm.
Also the same team that you have a quarterback who was, interestingly enough, the only quarterback ever to be traded after winning a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
We have Elvis Gerback. You dealt with Elvis Gerback.
Yep.
Was supposed to be the next savior of that team. He wasn't nothing on that team. You got to see a lot. You got Jamal still on that team.
Yep.
You got the drama that comes out of that a couple years after the Super Bowl. The Ray talk after that.
Mm-hmm.
You got to see a lot of people leave, but that team, it's an interesting dynamic. We heard me say earlier, in Ozzie we trust.
Mm-hmm.
That's the God's honest truth. I think without Ozzie, that team falls apart many, many times. That guy was able to put pieces in place. You're a perfect example of it. He saw talent.
Well, let me take it a step further.
Take it a step.
No doubt. He's a great evaluator of talent. Don't get me wrong. But I think we can all see talent, right? But I think what Ozzie is great at is evaluating people. And so when I say that, the Baltimore Ravens team and organization from top to bottom has always been made up of high quality people. And when I say high quality people, I'm talking about from Ozzie Smith, not Ozzie Smith, oh my goodness, from Ozzie Newsome all the
There
way
is an
down
Ozzie Smith, if y'all don't know that, but he's different, complete Ozzie.
from Ozzie Newsome and Dick Cass, Steve Bisciotti, or when Mr. Modell was around, all the way down to the volunteer firefighters who are in the locker room. The organization is built on and has only consisted of high level people that would excel in any line of work that you put them in. And so I think that's his gift. That's his gift, is he's a great evaluator of people.
You have to answer a question for me. And then we're going to go into transitioning, to other teams and leaving. Who's the lady that does all the medical for the Ravens that has been there since inception? She has like blondish hair, tall lady.
Dr. Curl.
Dr. Curl?
Dr. Curl, yeah.
She's amazing.
She is. And
I don't even know who she is. I just know her standing there. She looks like she could have been any one of my teachers growing up in Baltimore.
I want to say she was a big-time basketball player.
I wouldn't be surprised. She looks tall.
Yeah, she's about 6'1", 6'2", maybe. Yeah, Dr. Curl and Dr. Tucker. Yeah.
Like, you knew exactly who I was talking about. She's been there forever. You never hear anything. And wherever the coaches are, she's not far behind them. She's right on the money with them.
And hey, man, like I say, man, when you talk about the Baltimore Ravens, you're talking about a top-of-the-line organization with top-of-the-line people. That's just, and that's the recipe for success. That is why the Baltimore Ravens have had sustained success for years. Is of course, talent is all over the NFL, but having high quality people who do their job with excellence, that's a rare. That's rare when you can get that.
Rarefied air. So I love hearing you. So we now go to Miami.
Buffalo.
It's Buffalo in Miami. So we do a little clip in Buffalo. We're there. We learn about wings. We learn about
snow.
What is it?
Shoveling your roof.
Shoveling your roof. What's the damn sandwich? Wick on rye.
Yeah. Beef on rye or something
beef
like that.
On wick. Beef on wick.
Yeah.
We learn about beef on wick. If you don't know what that is truly a sandwich that you have to find a place that knows what we're doing. The first one I had sucked. The second one was good. Then we're down in Miami. We're sunning ourselves.
Get injured.
Get injured.
Yeah, man. So this is when Coach Nick Saban was the head coach. And so you say you don't?
So here's my thing with Nick Saban, and I'll say this. I would say it to him. I have no respect for somebody who says, I'm going to do this. I'm here for the long haul. I'm going to stick around. I'm going to make this happen. And then you bounce.
Man,
come on.
Nobody thought for 1 second that he was going to be able to turn Alabama down.
But you don't do that.
Even if he wanted to, he couldn't.
But you still don't do it. You don't. Because you know what? That would be like if I said, Benny, we were hanging out and I was like, Benny, I need you to drive me home, man. I've been drinking. I really need that. And you're like, Marv, I got you. Don't worry about it. I would never leave you at the bar. You're like, I got you. I'm like, all right, man. Well, I got to go take a piss. I'm going to tilt my stool up here. I'll be right back. And I come back and you're gone.
Yeah.
It's the same idea. I put my trust, I put my faith in you. You're going to make this happen. And he walked. That's my.
Yeah. I mean, I think the sentiment among the players was that he is saying that so we can get through the season. He's saying that to appease the front office. He is not saying that for us because we knew that, hey, man, you're not turning Alabama down. What they were offering him and throwing at him, I mean, even if he wanted to, I don't think he could. But Yeah, but I played Saban, man. You ever see the movie The Devil's Advocate?
Yeah, yeah.
So we used to call Coach Saban Tin Man because he said he had no heart, and Coach Satan. And so I'm in Buffalo, right? Mike Malarkey is the head coach. He recruits me to come to Buffalo. I like Coach Malarkey. Coach Malarkey gets fired from Buffalo. He's now the OC in Miami. So Buffalo brings in a new coaching staff. They release me. So as soon as I get released, Coach Malarkey calls. Hey, man, come on down to Miami. So I go down to Miami on a visit, right? And so the visit culminates with you going into Coach Saban's office. Now, Coach Saban is probably 5'7", maybe. And so he has this desk that's got to be about 4 feet tall. And so when you walk into his office, he doesn't shut the door. So he sits down behind this huge desk, presses a button, and the door shuts.
Is he the dude from the morning show that like harassed all those women? What the hell was his name? Like,
oh, Daily, not Daily. What's the dude name?
oh,
I know what you're talking about.
Like he would hit the button in the door, like,
man, it was like the movie The Devil's Advocate, man. And so man, me and him talking, man, and Coach Saban, man, you talking about a guy who knows exactly what he wants, and he has a plan for everything. That's him. Now I knew once I got into the locker room in Miami, I knew instantly we ain't going nowhere with this locker room.
oh, really?
Because I had, got to remember, I'm coming from Baltimore where I know what it looks like. And that didn't look like that. So I was like, man, it's some good, really good players. There's some really good guys. But the locker room, nah, this is not conducive to having winning success. So I knew then that, we weren't going to have a lot of success or the type of success that, we could have had. So anyway, man, I earned the starting spot. Second game of the season, man, I tear my tricep, I think the 10th play of the game. And so I tore my tricep tendon, and the tricep muscle rolled up from my elbow all the way to my shoulder almost like a shade. So man, I get that repaired.
You get this.
And man, I'm gonna tell you, man, how messed up the NFL have you thinking. Man, when I get hurt, and so they like, yeah, man, you probably tore your tricep. And I'm thinking, damn, man, I had some incentives that I'm not gonna reach.
Not you're injured, not this could affect your whole life. That I got some coin I just left on the table.
Yeah, because I had plans for that coin. So that was, I'm looking because I'm reading the tea leaves. So now remember I told you they had when I was first when I was previously, you had two different type of defensive linemen. You had the big slow ones or the small quick ones. But then they started crossbreeding these fellas. And then you have guys who
intermixing them.
Yeah, these guys 6'6" like Calais Campbell, 6'8", 300 pounds, cat quick. Man, I didn't want to wrestle with them guys.
Calais Campbell, I remember him.
So I'm like, hey man, I need to find working on my exit strategy. So by this time, I'm like, yeah, I'm need to be figuring out, making sure I get my ducks in a row so I can get out of here. Because I knew, my talent was talent, but I didn't have elite talent. So when you don't have elite talent, then once you start slipping a little bit, it's over.
I'm gonna disagree with you, bro. Because first off, everybody on an NFL field, in my opinion, it is a particular class away from a first round draft pick or a draft pick in general.
Right.
You're just you're a class pick away.
Right.
So you were elite talent.
Well, when I say elite,
you're not Jonathan Ogden, but you're
right.
You played next to him.
Right. And see, Ogden had elite talent. So that if his talent or if his ability started to slip a little bit, then he'll be good enough just like everyone else. But
Okay, I see what you're saying.
you know what I'm saying? So that's why you see guys the difference between guys who can play 7, 8 years and guys who can play 12 and 13 years is once those guys have elite talent. And once their talent starts to slip, they can still get by because now they're on the same plane as everyone else.
All right.
But if you start on the same plane and you slip a little, then then you're gonna be a 6 or 7 year guy if you're lucky.
And that kind of answers Tim's question, which was, what was your decision to step away from the NFL, or why was your motivated factor behind taking the position you have now? So now you finish up.
Mm-hmm.
Was it right away we're moving back to St. Louis?
Well, so yeah, I remember I'm living in Miami.
Miami.
So my wife, that's right. My wife, and we went to middle school and high school together. And so she, we got the kids. It's like, well, the grandparents are there and we're the only ones here. I've been following you around. I want to go home. Like, well, I guess we go home. So we moved back to St. Louis. I sat around for about a year, getting super duper fat. I was 420 pounds, man.
Oh, good Lord.
Man,
good Lord, son. What have you been eating?
Oh, so that was the wake-up call. Man, we had went on the family reunion to Los Angeles. And so I said, man, it'd be fun to drive. So while in LA, man, I had in and out breakfast, lunch, dinner, and late night snack. All right. And so, man.
Monster style? Did you go monster on all of them?
See, people know about the triples, but I went for the quad, the 4x4. 2 of them. And I went all in. And man, it's something I said, man, I feel kind of bloated. This is on the ride back. So you stop at the truck stops and they have a scale in the bathroom. Man, I got on that scale. Look, said 420. Sheesh. And then after that, man, I said, man, I can't live like this, man. So that's when I started. Anyway, man, so that was 07, man. Then I decided, man, I got to get off the couch and live life. And so, man, I started. I had my degree and certification in teaching. So I took a teaching position at a middle school, teaching history, 7th graders.
Oh, nice.
Man, I love the kids, but I hated it, man. I was like, man, this is a joke. The education system is broke. I mean, just broke. So, man, I took a year off and said, man, I don't want to do this. So I ran into a guy who I grew up with, and his wife was a principal at a school, Live for Life Academy here in St. Louis. He said, man, you should go down there and help my wife out. I said, man, I don't know, man. So anyway, I went down there, man, and fell in love with the place. And I credit that school. You talk about schools saving kids, and helping getting the kids on the right track. But man, working in that environment with those people and with those young people and those families, they really did give my life a new purpose. And so, that really helped to get me focused and on a positive track. Being able to have a daily impact on some kids and some people and families that may have, would typically get overlooked. So, man,
tell me about the school. Well, tell me about this school. Was it? You said it's called Live a Life Academy?
Lift for Life Academy.
Lift for Life Academy. So,
right.
So what made it a special school?
It was the first charter school in the city of St. Louis. And so with that being said, we had a lot of freedom as to what we did with the curriculum, what we did with the students. And so you really got to know the students and the families on a level that you wouldn't typically get to know in a traditional public school setting. So what I mean by that is, man, the students had my cell phone number, the parents had my cell phone number. It was just a different dynamic, man. You had kids who wanted to learn, kids who didn't, but you can pull a kid aside and say, hey, man, look here. If you don't do this, I can promise you this is what's going to happen. And then when they didn't listen and what you told them was going to happen, you still had enough reign where you can go in there and pull them out that situation.
Oh, nice.
So, from that aspect, man, it really helped to give my life purpose.
So how many years were you there?
So I was there for 8 years. And so, like I said, I have sons, and they started playing football at Westminster Christian Academy, and it's a private school, and it ain't cheap, right? So,
NFL money ain't there no more.
Hey man, hey, even with NFL money, so
It wasn't cheap.
hey, man, I felt that every month. So, man, I started coaching there because I always wanted to coach my kids. So I'm coaching there, man. I really like the coaching staff, the people there, and so the head coach, the guy who's the head coach, he's now one of the principals, and the teaching position came open, and I was like, man, I like where I'm at, right? I said, I don't want to do that. He said, well, you know, it comes with a 75% break on tuition. So where do I start? So, you know, man, they ended up making me an offer. I just couldn't resist. And I mean, and I'm thankful for it, man. I love the environment. It's a totally different dynamic. I'm teaching students who, I mean, some of the baseball Cardinals children.
Oh wow.
I hope I can say this, but I got one of the members of the Isley brothers. Son is in my class. I'm dealing with that type of environment.
A completely different dynamic of students.
Environment, but what I've come to know is the kids have the same needs. So no matter if you are your social economic status, whether or not you dirt poor, whether or not you got drug addicted parents, or whether or not your parents live in a $4 or $5 million mansion, all of these young people are at risk. Some people have more buffers, more things in place in case they fall to bad habits or to risk. But these kids are all at risk, and if America doesn't wake up and recognize that all of these kids are at risk, and that all of these kids are our best hope for the future, we're in trouble.
We're what is it? Sowing our own seeds of disaster.
Absolutely, you reap what you sow. And man, we turn these kids loose to television, not even television. These kids don't even watch TV anymore.
No, Mike. I promise you, my kids. I try to be like, hey, come check this show out with me. It's a good show, and they're like, I'm not watching it. That I'm watching a YouTube video. I'm watching, this, watching that. Yeah, my kids.
30. Man, so when you and I were in school, if we knew we had a movie day, we were all in it. Now, when you showing educational clips, 30 seconds is as long as you can go. Other 30 seconds, you lose them.
They're done.
You got to stop it, talk through it, then you can show some more. But 30 seconds is all you get.
No, I mean, I've always said I blame that on the Vine. Remember? Do it for the Vine.
Yeah, do it for the Vine.
Got to do it for the Vine. Because they were 6-second clips, and you laughed your ass off, and somebody figured it out, and it kind of progresses from there. But
yeah.
Like I give you all the credit in the world. I raised young men in the Marine Corps. I've always believed that I was responsible for, somebody's baby and raising young men. But I'll tell you right now, I used to go into those schools and watch those teachers. And in Pennsylvania, I'll be damned, Benny. I'll be damned. You won't talk to me like that.
No. But man, let me tell you a funny story. So when I was with the Ravens, man, I was active in Teach for America.
Okay.
And so every year they would have like Teach for America week, but they were bringing like celebrity teachers or whatever. And so, man, I went to Northern High School. Northern High School. Was it Northern? Yeah, in Baltimore City. Man, so they had this one teacher in there. I guess he was a new teacher, young teacher. Man, those kids cussing them out, you big stupid, just letting them have it, man. So they asked me to go into the class. I go into the class, they quiet down for a minute. One little dude says, man, for real, man, I ain't never seen you on the field. Man, you don't play for the Ravens. Man, get this dude out of here. I was like, man, what's wrong with these people? So, yeah, man, with what I've learned, and this as, Marine Corps, those young people crave discipline.
100%.
And if you establish parameters you give them room to express themselves and to grow, but set hard expectations, and they'll reach them. But if you don't, they'll reach those as well.
You'll like this story as we're getting ready to put this together. I was at you ever heard of North Penn High School in Pennsylvania? Yeah. So that was one of the schools I was responsible for, was North Penn. And for folks that don't know it, it's the largest high school in the state of Pennsylvania, graduates over 1,000 kids a year, and was the birth of kind of the ESPN going and interviewing high schools and doing documentaries. They did one on them. I don't even think you can find the documentary anymore. I've looked for it. The original high school head coach got fired because he was out there cussing them kids out. And this was like late 90s. So here I am. I'm in my blues and I'm doing a entire presentation on leadership, Marine Corps leadership. The acronym JJ did, tie buckle, justice, judgment, dependability, intelligence, decisiveness, going through the whole thing with these kids.
Right.
So I'm doing this all day long, every class. I get done and one of my kids comes to me. I'll never forget him. Great Marine, good kid. His name was Frank Zoika. I can still remember his name. This is 20 years ago. Now I think about it. This was 2001, 2002, 20 years ago. God, it was 20 years ago. So he comes to me and he goes, hey, Staff Sergeant, one of my buddies was in your class. I said, yeah. Did he like it? He goes, when I first saw the guy, I thought I could whoop his ass. By the time the class was over, I decided I didn't want to mess with him no more. I just established that, like you said, you establish who you are. So, brother, I know you getting ready to finally let you out of the building. They're gonna let you go home. Look, he just ducked under a doorway, folks. I just watched Benny just duck under a doorway. So, Benny, I thank you so much. Anything out there where folks can find you, if they're looking for you, they want to support any of your programs that you got out there, where can they find you?
Man, you know what? I am on Facebook and I'm on Twitter. And if you give me about another week, I'm gonna get with Dibble, and then we're gonna get it going.
I'm gonna get Dibs to get you on the IG and get your boys going.
Yeah,
son, I saw him.
With him. Yeah, he got it figured out. But I'm gonna have to get with Dibble, and he'll get me up and going.
He'll make it happen. So remember, you got to give me a couple of minutes when the show's over, because I got something for you. When the show's over, you as always, as the guest, you get the last word. What's the last word tonight, brother?
Hey, man, you know what? Thanks, Sean. I love what you're doing, man. I'm glad that you're utilizing this platform, and keep up the good work, man. That's my last word.
Thank you, brother. All righty, folks, be sure to push your stool in.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation, found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.